If you're someone that has barely seen any progress within the gym, or is not really building muscle, doesn't really see progress in the muscle building phase, or like building muscle in general, if you haven't seen progress in that in a long time, then you could be doing one of these 5 gym mistakes, which I'm going to be listing out within this video, and that you must completely avoid if you want to see progress faster. Now bear in mind, you're not going to see, when I say faster, I don't mean like in the next 1 to 2 weeks. I mean like across the next 1 to 2 years, around that, depending on your genetics, of course. Some people might see progress in less than the year. Some might see it a bit longer, but either way, it's not gonna happen instantly. So in this video, let me talk about the 5 gym mistakes that you must completely avoid. Now, the first thing that you must completely avoid is to stop constantly changing up your training plans. You're probably you do 1 week a 3-day split, you do the next week a 5-day split, another week you do 2 days only in the gym. You're just basically going on and off within the gym, and you also keep switching up your exercises. You keep switching up. For example, you keep switching from an incline dumbbell press to a machine press to doing dips instead, and then you just keep switching up your exercises, and so it's very important to stop switching up your exercises and find a program that works for you and that helps you to stick long enough for at least 6 months. So that's the first gym mistake. Now, the second gym mistake that you're probably making is you don't have, similar to the first one, but you don't have like a training structure. You don't have a proper training plan. You're doing one day a workout that you see online. The next day you're doing a workout online and you're doing just an 10-minute ab exercise that's gonna make you have abs in 1 to 2 months. Firstly, you don't to train your abs, you need to train it in any other muscle. You need to train it the same way as how you train each muscle group. You need to get stronger at it every single day, get more reps. You need to aggressively overload over time within these ab exercises in order to grow your abs. You don't grow your abs by doing 100 crunch, by doing 100 crunches, 100 leg raises up and down. That's not how you build abs. You probably will do that. You're the type of person that probably does that in the second day. Third day you're doing high rocks. The 4th day you're doing 10 different chest exercises and 3 different tricep exercises. The next day you're doing Muay Thai the next day. And then the day after that, you're doing another training session, but just legs, or your routine, your training structure is just all over the place. So we must fix this by having a proper training plan. Find out what split works for you. If whether it's 3 to 5 days, anywhere between 3 to 5 days is good enough. And and you need to find a training plan or structure that allows you to train each muscle group twice a week. You can train your legs twice a week, but most people who are beginners, especially, it's best for them to train their legs twice a week instead of once. But yeah, any split doesn't really matter as long as you find one that suits that best fits your schedule. But yeah, anywhere between 3 to 5 days, and you need to also find out what exercises that you enjoy doing, and then plan what you're going to do in this day, plan what you're going to do in the next day, whether that's going to be upper the first day, or second training session you'll do lower. And then also write down, not write down, but plan which days you can go to the gym, and then how many rest days you're going to be having, which days you're going to be training and which days you're going to be having your rest days. And you're simply going to be doing that, executing that plan consistently for the next 6 to 12 months. But yeah, you need to have a proper training plan, because how are you going to be building muscle if you don't, if you keep how are you going to build muscle if you simply go all over the place, if you don't have a proper training, if you don't have a proper structure and a training plan. Now, the third gym mistake that you're probably making is you're doing too many sets. You're doing, 3 sets of 10, you're doing you're doing 5 sets to failure. And, you're training 6-7 days a week with minimum recovery. You're doing too much volume slash, or too much sets, I should say. You're doing 10 different chest exercises. You're doing 5 different back exercises. You need to, so instead of doing too many sets, train for each exercise, do 2 to 3 sets each, and aim to have minimum rest day of 2 days a week. So, and I'd recommend doing 2 sets only for your compound lifts and 2 to 3 sets of your isolation movements, such as, your preacher curls, your incline dumbbell curls, push downs, lateral raises, whatever it may be. And when doing 2 sets for your compound exercise, I'd recommend structuring it this way. You do your top set as your first set, and that allows you to train, that allows you to get anywhere between, for most people it would be anywhere between 6 to 12 reps. But yeah, find a weight that allows you to lift with good form, and obviously, and allows you to get anywhere between 6 to 12 reps, depending on what rep range is best for you. So find the top set. And so do your first set as your top set, which is your heaviest set, and then do your second set as a backup set. So pick a weight that's like 80% of your top set, and then you can do more reps with it. So yeah, you only need 2 sets. 2 sets is enough for you to be building muscle. If anything, you're gonna see way better results if you do 2 sets, which is with high intensity until failure, with minimum volume, instead of doing way more volume of such as 4 sets, 5 sets, and you don't train to failure in any of these. So don't think that more equals better, because more doesn't always equal better. So minimize your volume and training each muscle group twice a week with each of your exercises, training anywhere between 2 to 3 sets per week. Obviously 2 sets for your compound lifts and 2 to 3 sets of your isolation movements. Minimize your volume because you will see better progress, and obviously recover hard too, because the muscles don't grow by breaking it down. It grows from recovering it. That's the 3rd gym mistake you must avoid. Now the 4th mistake that I'd say you must avoid is ego lifting. You guys need to stop thinking that the more weight you pull or you do, the more muscle you'll build. Like, yeah, cool, the more strength does equal more muscle, but what matters also is your form. But if your form is rubbish, then your muscles aren't going to be responding as effectively. Because if you're not training your muscles by its function, so let's say the function of the bicep, for example, from to bicep, that's the full contraction. That's the function of the biceps. If you don't train your muscles by its function, then you're not going to simply grow that muscle. And if you simply train your muscle by its function, then you're gonna know that you're lifting with proper form. But if you don't train your muscles by its function, and you train with rubbish form, and you just ego lift, you do half reps, you don't go all the way down and go back up. You don't even control your tempo. Then you're not gonna be building muscle as effectively. So it's very important to stop ego lifting. Prioritize form first, and then the weight will come second. And alongside also, training with high intensity, because obviously the more you will build muscle by increasing your strength, but strength doesn't just equate to muscle. Is mechanical tension is what's the driver of building muscle, meaning you must train with proper form, with good intensity, because training to failure with proper form is what builds muscle. It's not progressive overload. Progressive overload is simply the byproduct of you building muscle. It's an indication that you're building muscle. So prioritize your form first, and then intensity, and then the weight will come second. So yeah, that's the 4th gym mistake you must avoid. Now the 5th and final mistake that you must avoid is, and I don't really think a lot of people do this, But I used to do it back in my days because I used to skip legs back in the days. But yeah, this is simply you're prioritizing muscle groups. Just because your shoulders are your strongest, but your biceps are weaker and your triceps are weaker, then that doesn't mean you must prioritize your biceps and triceps instead of your shoulders by doing biceps and triceps twice a week but doing shoulders only once a week, because at the end of the day there's still room for growth. If you have a strong part of your muscle group, then there is still going to be room for improvement to grow it. And then now obviously if you're an advanced lifter and you've already built some muscle, and then you have some muscles that are kind of weak, then yeah, of course, yeah, you can prioritize muscle groups from there. But if you're a beginner and you're prioritizing muscle groups, you're skipping legs, just because they're your strongest, then your legs are probably going to be looking weaker once you've built your other areas of your muscle. So it's very important to don't prioritize muscle groups. Train each muscle group twice a week. And like again I said, you can do legs once a week, but obviously most of you guys will need to train your legs twice a week. But make sure you train each muscle group twice a week and don't prioritize muscle groups. Only prioritize muscle groups once you built some sort of muscle through your advanced journey. So yeah, that's the 5 gym mistakes that I think most people still do to this day, and it's something that must be completely avoided if you want to see progress faster. But that's it from me. If you want more information on how I got to 15% body fat, then click the 12 to 15% body fat guide in the description of this video. If not, then thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you in the next one.